Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the weekly vlog. In this episode, I talk about what's kept me super busy, busier than normal, over the last week, and why I am tired as heck. This includes 2 events that I talked at in the last 2 weeks. It includes more than 2 court appearances coming up in the next 2 weeks, and the book I'm currently reading and why it's so interesting. Let's jump in. Hey folks, Josh here, back for another weekly vlog / podcast. I'm just going to be honest. I am wiped. I am so tired. Now this goes live on Sundays, but I actually usually record this Friday morning. It just fits well into my schedule that way. And holy moly, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail onto why, but largely because of a few things. Number one, just when you have a young family plus work, many of you might be able to relate. It's just tiring. Now, on top of that, because you've maybe been listening to this, watching this vlog or listening to the podcast for a while, I'm not always wiped like this on a Friday. I'm usually tired on a Friday, but today I'm wiped on a Friday. And here's why. Number one, just the life of a parent of a young family, which is going great. I'm not complaining about that. I'm loving it. But the 2 other big reasons are, number one, this past week, I presented at 2 different events / conferences, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them and what I presented on. And thirdly, I have 2 court appearances next week. So I don't know why. I had a few maybe some of you can relate to this, especially if you're a small business or small firm owner. It's always ebbs and flows, right? And that's just the nature of a small business. It's never just like, hey, I have 38 hours of work every week. Nope. It's like, hey, one week you might only have 32 hours. The next week you have 52. The next week you have 28. The next week you have 61, right? It's very ebb and flowy. And so I just happened to be in a period where I haven't spoke at an event in a few months, and then I had 2 within the same week. And next week I have 2 court appearances. And the week after that, I have 2 more court appearances. Now, the reason why that's a problem is because, and I've said this before, for those of you who aren't lawyers and, you're watching Suits and you're watching, Hollywood, the easiest part, in my opinion, is showing up at the court appearance. Most of the heavy lifting is done beforehand because the way it works, at least here in Ontario, is depending on the type of appearance and which party you are, you have to prepare and submit your documents usually at least 4 days ahead of time, 4 business days, right? Now, so the reason I say this is because usually the couple weeks before the court appearance are the most busy because you actually have to prep, finalize, edit, review, sign, serve, and file those court documents. So all that's happened in the last few weeks, and I am tired. I can't wait for the weekend. Anyways, so let me tell you a little bit more about what those talks were about. So the first one, I'll mention what the 2 events were first, and then I'll talk about what I talked about at them, obviously AI related, right? So they're both legal events, and in both I talked about building and using custom GPTs as a lawyer, because I do pretty much every day. So the first event was actually last weekend, and the event was the Acadie annual conference. AQAADI, in case you're curious to look it up or you don't believe me. But it is a conference for Quebec immigration lawyers. So obviously a lot of their conference is about updates to the law and immigration and stuff like that. But they wanted a session on AI. And so I did a session on what is a custom GPT, why they're so useful and easy to build. And I even shared my screen and gave them an example of how they could build custom GPTs to use for their own immigration firms. So drafting submission letters, drafting cover letters, drafting retainers, drafting social media content, that kind of stuff. And that one went really well. And then I had a second talk that I gave on Wednesday, and this was for the, what was it called? 361 Law Group. Hold on, I should have had this pulled up, but I'm tired on a Friday and I'm unprepared. 361 Family Law Forum. And this is an initiative of the Family Law Bench and Bar Committee at the Superior Court of Justice in Toronto. So in plain English, it was a group of Toronto family lawyers And again, the session was called AI in Your Family Practice, and it was myself and two other lovely presenters. And we each talked about different ways that we're using AI. The first person talked about prompting and how it's so important to be prompting well to help with things like drafting email responses and affidavits and stuff like that. I went second. I talked about taking that a little bit further to use your prompting skills to build custom GPTs. So you could do things like draft court documents, draft social media material, stuff like that. And then the third speaker talked a little bit about agents and, leveraging like Copilot within your document and stuff like that. So that also went really well. Now, the biggest thing that stuck out to me from both of these, because I talked about relatively similar topics at both, is how shocked and impressed a lot of the lawyers are by what I'm showing them. Because, and obviously I'm in the minority. I'm younger. I have a tech company of my own. So I'm obviously, if you look at a spectrum of lawyers from stuck in the Stone Age to extremely AI, focused, I swing more towards that latter group, right? I'm far, on the innovative side of lawyers. So obviously I need to keep that in mind. But it seems like the vast majority of lawyers are either afraid or don't know anything and paying no attention to AI whatsoever. And that's interesting to me for a few reasons. Number one, I'm just surprised because it's so useful. Like, I use AI in different forms almost every day. I actually don't use it for some things like email. I actually find that given how important context and little things are, and sometimes just how short some of my emails need to be, I just find it easier to draft them myself. But for drafting certain types of material, summarizing, comparing, repurposing, research, I use it probably every single day, and I'm shocked that a lot of other lawyers don't. So I don't really know where I want it to go from there. It's just surprising. And so one of the things I plan on doing as a result is running a webinar specifically to help legal professionals build their own custom GPTs. Because I'm like, listen, you don't have to know how to code, how to do it. You can't even code with, like, I build custom gems using Gemini. You can do the same thing in ChatGPT, building custom GPTs. You don't have to know how to code. So why aren't people using it? Well, they probably just don't know enough about it or haven't had their hand held to do it. So I think what I'm going to do in the next week or two is I'm going to hold a webinar, and it's going to be how to build your first custom GPT. And I'm quite literally going to share my screen and walk the attendees through it step by step, from planning stage, thinking about what you should even build the custom GPT to do, and then coming up with prompts and instructions and source documents and everything like that. So if you happen to be a legal professional, definitely let me know. Make sure you're on the Substack, right? So whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, check the link in the description, because if you're not already subscribed to my Substack, number one, that's criminal. And come on, how are you not subscribed yet? And number two, as soon as I formalize that webinar, I'm going to obviously promote it to my Substack list. So make sure you're on it. Now, the caveat I'll give is it's going to be directed at legal professionals, lawyers, immigration consultants, and such, but it can definitely be applied to any other profession. So if you're not stupid or crazy enough to be a lawyer or legal professional, but this still sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out and sign up as well, because you'll probably still get a lot of value, right? Because it's all the same shtick, right? Whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, a consultant, a developer. If you're a developer, you might know more than I do. But if you're in some other profession and you're not leveraging custom GPTs yet and you think it might be helpful, then make sure to keep an eye out. So anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about for the meat of the episode. I do want to quickly touch on books. I don't know how I'm going to get through it today. It's if you're watching on YouTube, I'm like, are my eyes half closed? Anyways, it's 9:51 a.m. on a Friday. I have multiple calls and important work to do today. So wish me luck. Anyways, the last topic I want to cover is books, as always. I'm probably about 1/5 of the way through my next read, which is 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. And I'm going to wait to give my full review once I finish the book, obviously. But it is really good. I would say it's only for certain types of people. Like if you're not so entrepreneurial, flowery, lovey-dovey, standard, you know, employee. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is like you would glean the most information and be able to apply it more if you're like an entrepreneurial go-getter. Because basically it's taking you through strategies of war, but obviously most of us aren't in the middle of war right now. So what I do is I take the stories and the lessons and I think of how I can apply them to my business journey. It's really good. It's a big book, so it's going to take me a little bit of time. Like if you know any of Robert Greene's books, 48 Laws of Power, Mastery, the guy writes long books, but they're usually worth reading. They are still packed with value. Like the guy doesn't like blabber on, right? Like these pages, it's long books, but they are packed with interesting stories. So typically each chapter starts with a story from history, and then he segues that into, okay, what is the key lesson that we're going to take from it? And then, okay, what are the key strategies that we want to keep in mind to support this overall lesson? So, for example, one lesson might be to, always be taking action. So he tells a story about a conqueror who always took action and was good because of it. And then he gives like 4 or 5, 6 different tips about how you can do that and apply it to your own life. So it's a really good book. I'm going to keep reading it. I don't think I'm going to be done it by next week's episode, but whenever I'm done, I will let you know. So that is it for me. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.